Former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, is with us. Mr. Speaker, there you have excessive expectations versus get the job done. And Mitch McConnell saying, well, now we're going to move on to other things. He just basically threw up his hands after that last vote on health care. I guess I was surprised to read that you said on our friend Maria's show this morning you disagree with all of this strategy. What does that mean?
Well, first of all, there were 16 Democrats voting no for every Republican. So if people want to get mad, the first place to look is the 48 Democrats, and in particular, the 10 Democrats who are from states Trump carried, including somebody who's from a state that is 68% pro-Trump. So I start with the idea, Ronald Reagan would have figured out the real opponent were the Democrats.
But they didn't promise to repeal and replace. The Republicans did. And
you got 49 out of 52. And people then attack, quote, the Republicans. Well, if I'm one of the 49, I'm standing there going, wait a second. I did everything I could, including trying to carry these three guys who wouldn't go with me. But the deeper thing here is presidents have to focus on being effective as a team. One of the reasons I spoke out today is the president's gotten this cycle now of what Mitch has to do. He has to do. The president's not an owner sitting up in a box somewhere. The president's the biggest player on the field. We need to get back to using the words we. What is it that we have to get done? How is it that we failed? Because we all failed. It wasn't just Mitch McConnell. Every single one of us who wanted to repeal it failed. So what do we learn from that, and how do we move on as a team? And I'm saying this stuff as strongly as I do because I lived through the Reagan years. I lived through the contract years. I know, and I lived through years when Republicans failed. And Republicans fail when they decide to commit civil war against themselves, and they forget that the Democrats are the opponents, and they forget what the real source of the problem is. The real source of the problem is not Mitch McConnell. The real source of the problem is Chuck Schumer and 48 Democrats who spent all spring and summer trying to screw up this administration every single way they could.
And they were successful, but, I rarely disagree with you. And I'm listening very closely for clues because I know you so well, and with all due respect, I don't think we can compare this Republican Party to the Newt Gingrich Party in 95 and 94 that had a vision, that actually made promises and kept promises. A president like Reagan, it was very successful at legislating, but this is let me give you my perspective, and I really want to dig into this and get your answer, and I want to listen, and I want an answer because I want these things solved because the country needs it. I watched Donald Trump yesterday. This is what I sensed. I sensed a real sincerity in him. I saw the guy that was the real person, being totally blunt and honest, not understanding how people can promise something for 7.5 years, and they have the majority, and then seemingly have zero really big ideas. What they failed on was the skinny repeal, which was nothing like repeal and replace as they promised. They don't have urgency. McConnell seemed to accept failure by saying, let's move on. And then McConnell lecturing the president first, in fairness to President Trump, about, well, he's not from here. He's not, I'm a bit irritated over this. He doesn't understand the complexities of legislating. And I'm like, really? This is 9 months into the guy's presidency, and you guys are 8 years into this promise. This is ridiculous.
Well, look, I'm not going to defend what Mitch said the other day. I think it was unwise, and I think looking back, he probably agrees it was unwise. But I just want to point out, okay, you're at a point in time when the objective fact is you're 3 votes short. Okay. Now, one way to react is decide, let's find some way to attack ourselves. So we're now going to have a huge fight, for example, taking on Flake in Arizona, because, boy, we'll sure teach him. Well, we could also end up losing the seat. We're going to really have a big fight with Heller in Nevada. We'll teach him. By the way, both these guys voted for repeal. But we're going to teach him. I see these conservative groups already out raising money. Good chance to then lose the seat. We're going to be back where we were for the last few years, except now it'll be Schumer instead of Harry Reid as the majority leader. I don't think that helps Trump. I don't think that helps the country.
Listen, I'm not disagreeing that we got to come to an answer here. The only thing I will say is that I'll concede a point to you. I agree. Of course, we could always go back and blame the Democrats, but give us the House, give us the Senate, give us the presidency. We'll do this. There's not one Democrat, not even those from states that Donald Trump won, that ever made that promise. Right. and nor do I think any of them are. It's a hopeless party at this point. I mean, Joe Manchin, I know, has been reached out to time and time again, and he is absolutely impossible to deal with. At the end of the day, Chuck Schumer and the Democrats control him.
But the fact is, to the degree that that's true, then there is a long game, and the long game is called the 2018 election. And you go to the country and you say, we have a couple of people who are weak.
Yeah.
So our 52 votes really isn't reliable. We need to be at 56 or 58. Who are we going to beat so we can get to 56 or 58?
Is this, for the average person out there that's heard since 2010, give us the House, we'll repeal and replace. No. Give us the House and Senate, we'll repeal and replace. Give us the House, Senate, the White House, we'll repeal and replace. Give us the House, Senate, the presidency, but now we need 58 votes, and then we'll repeal and replace. And I'll tell you why I don't believe that's true. There were 60 votes in the House to repeal and replace Obamacare, the show votes. They never used the power of the purse. That was an early indication they didn't mean it. There were 100 House Republicans that we learned didn't have any intention of doing that. And then we also learned that even the senators that voted for a straight repeal bill in 2015, 3 of them that voted for, well, actually more, there was like 6 of them that voted for the straight repeal bill in 2015. They didn't mean it either, because when they had their shot to get it passed, they didn't mean it either. And they voted against the straight repeal. I'm irritating today, I know. I'm just
you're not irritating me. I mean, this is actually a very important, I think, very healthy conversation, not just between you and me, but for the entire conservative movement. Okay? We're faced with a reality that people who had a good press release, when it came down to being real legislation, suddenly discovered, this is really a lot harder than we thought it was. And that's really what happened.
But you were always politically courageous, and let's be honest, I mean, you got the House for the first time in 40 years with a vision, a strong, active, participating, contract, bold and aggressive. You did your job. You kept your word. Well, why don't the Republicans just do that now? From now until January 1st?
They should, but my point is, when you say that, Sean, it has to include the president. This word,
then Mitch McConnell made the first mistake by going after...
The word "we" is really, really important here. I went out, and you're right, we put together, it took us 24 years, because you were there and you saw it. And it took us 16 years after I got elected.
And I loved it. It was a great time.
But remember, I went to every moderate, and I said we. I went to every conservative, and I said we. And I worked very hard to make sure that we were on the same team.
So I should say, Mitch, can we work together pretty please with sugar on top?
Exactly.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes. I know it's not as much fun as being angry.
I'm not angry.
What I want is effectiveness. I want effectiveness, not emotion. I want a president who says...
You know what's fascinating about this? We so rarely disagree. And
I know.
And I know you're deep down as pissed off as I am, except I'm just more blunt about it, and I wear my emotions on my sleeve. I know you too well.
But the biggest difference isn't how, and I agree, I'm probably at least as frustrated as you are, because I'm older than you, I've been doing this longer than you have, and it drives me crazy when I watch the Republican Party forget every single lesson that we learned from Reagan, and every lesson we learned from the contract, and I'm very worried they're going to do the same thing on the tax bill.
Right.
And so, trust me, I mean, my fuse is very short, but here's what tempers my voice. The key is to be effective.
Okay, let's talk about...
I want to know what's going to get the job done, not what's going to make me feel good.
Do you have extra time today, or are you busy? Because I got to keep you for one quick segment. Do you want to stay another half hour or no?
No, I can't stay. I'll stay for a quick segment. I just have to go...
All right, quick break. We'll come back. Final thoughts with Newt Gingrich. Don't forget his book on Amazon.com. It's been now, 10 or 11 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list. It's called Understanding Trump. We'll get his take on North Korea when we get back. All right, as we continue with former Speaker of the House, author of the New York Times best-selling book, almost 3 months now on the bestseller list, Understanding Trump, Newt Gingrich is with us. All right, I know we don't have more time, but this is a discussion that I think we're going to have moving forward, and I'll just say, I'll concede this to you. Blessed art the peacemakers, you shall inherit, I believe, the earth, because that's you, that's not me now. And
let's plan Monday to get back on this topic, and I'll come back on the show if you want me to.
I do, but I'd be negligent if I didn't ask you about North Korea, and I do like the president's strength. I like his resolve. It is such a refreshing difference from the appeasement policies that got us here, and that means Bill Clinton.
He is has done exactly the right thing. It's a perfect example. There's a teamwork underway. You see General Mattis, General Kelly, you see General McMaster, you see Tillerson, and you see the UN ambassador Nikki Haley. The whole team is moving in the right direction. I think what the president's been saying needs to be as vivid and as clear as he has been. I think this is a critical period for us. I did write my newsletter today, which people can get for free at GingrichProductions.com, on what is the value of an American city. I think we have to take very seriously what's at stake with nuclear weapons, and I'm going to be writing several newsletters the next week on what we need to do to have a much deeper and more effective defense system against nuclear weapons. But I think the president's moving in exactly the right direction, and he's doing it as a team, and they're mutually reinforcing. When the president says something strong in rhetoric, Mattis comes along and says, by the way, we can back it up militarily and make it happen.
All right, based on our earlier discussion and based on what you're saying here, I mean, have you spoken with the president? Have you spoken with Mitch McConnell? I mean, have you, for example, I think you would be the perfect person to bring the team together. I wouldn't be that person.
Well, look, I don't think I am in a position to try to broker between two people who are extraordinarily powerful personalities. These guys are adults, so they'll figure this out and get around to it.
You think so? Do you think that by December, by January, do you think we'll get a bill to fund the border wall? Do you think we'll get the president's economic plan passed? Do you think we'll get some version of their promise repeal and replace? And do you think we'll get everything we need to get energy jobs up and moving, which I think will be the single greatest asset?
That's what I think is the biggest focus in the near future. I've been talking with the White House, with the House and the Senate. I am very concerned because, as I said earlier, I can imagine these guys sliding back and making the same mistakes with the tax bill that they made with the health bill. You cannot do something that is too complicated and get it done. We don't have the right size majority. We don't have the right communications capability. They need to have a simple, clean, clear tax cut.
It would have been nice if they were ready for it, but I guess that's in retrospect.
But they weren't, and the same thing's true here. They need a simple, clean tax cut by Thanksgiving if they're going to get the economy growing enough next year to win the election.
All right, we'll have you back next week. Mr. Speaker, congrats on the book. Have a great weekend.
Talk to you soon.